Here's the nice bike with the damage from the crash. I haven't used this much since since that day when I went to Deddington and then Bloxham as well, all around those villages near Banbury. When I crashed, I kept going for the remaining 4 or 5 hours trip or whatever. But I've used it once or twice since then, to record. When I recorded that video from it, I had the camera mounted on around here. I had to move this out of the way to make room. This bike is a little unsafe, but I think you'd probably crash on any bike doing what I was doing on the ice. Any bike would have issues, but yeah, this bike does feel relatively unsafe because with my weight, the brakes are not that great. You can sort of see in the video how long it takes to slow down, which is not great when you've got like rough roads and a lot of traffic, and there is a lot of traffic around here nowadays. Yeah, but it gets the job done though. It does what I designed it to do, which is to get to places that are really far away. It's pretty. I like the bike. I like riding the bike, but yeah, it is a bit unsafe. If there's high winds, or if you look over your shoulder while going quite fast, you can sort of start to wobble and lose balance a bit. Just things like that. Yeah, this wrist has started giving me trouble again in the past week, and I don't really know why. Since I went on that adventure with my cousin, I guess I would say it was. Oh no, not that. It was a week after that. I also went out when we went to that foresty place that I showed in the video. That was last weekend, and we've been playing shooter games since then. And then I popped to Tesco's on my big bike, and I had to sort of lift it to get it lined up against the wall to get it back in the garage, and I reckon that's all of that thing combined has fucked my wrist up again. So it started really hurting, and I had to strap a ruler along it. And then my probation officer was like, "Oh, you didn't have that before." It's like, yeah, well, I did sort of try to mention it, but you didn't really care to hear about what I've been up to because you've only just met me. I've only seen you a few times, and you're not someone that's easy to talk to. But yeah, it is a bit funny how I went to court, and then the next day my arm started hurting. It does make it seem like I just started pretending to be injured. But yeah, the damage is here to see, like here and here, on here as well. It's and there's no way I would take a file to my own bike just to pretend I'd crashed it. Yeah, I've got a few spare batteries. This one's 20 amp hours, and I was gonna put it in this hole, but I would have to 3D print a holder thing to slot in there to hold it, because it's too big to do what I've done with this one. This one's 14 amp hours, so this one's 20, so there's not that much difference. But I found that I get so much range anyway, even in winter, that I may not need it. I may not need this amount of energy. I've also got some spare ones that I were going to put on my mountain bike. I was going to wire them in parallel along the top bar of the mountain bike, like this. One there, one there. It's a bit dodgy though. I had that black one on the mountain bike, sort of in that position there, and it was fine for ages. Had it like that for ages, but I took it off. Now my cousin's got that bike. He's keeping hold of it. He's using it to go to work.
Hello.
Alright, this is the other bike. It's doing fine. Bit dirty since we went out. I don't use this key. It doesn't actually do anything because you need a certain controller to use the variable regen braking and the on-off switch. Like this controller, the one that comes with the display, doesn't have as many wires as the one that doesn't have a display, so it's a bit weird. Yeah, no problems with it. No punctures or anything. So I've got these new tyres, right? I've got these tyres I thought would be good for it. They're a bit smaller. They're 2.75 instead of 3 inches, and they're sort of smoother, hopefully a bit rounder. Whereas if you look at these tyres, they are quite flat. They're a bit thicker, and they're very square. You know, they make a lot of noise on the road. The rolling resistance, I'm guessing, is not that good, because when I go down a hill, the bike doesn't speed up when I'm like freewheeling. The bike just sort of slows down slightly, or it stays about the same speed. Depends on the size of the hill, obviously, but it will sort of very slowly slow down when you're going on the flat. It slows down much quicker than the other two bikes that I've had. I also got this Magura 203mm disc rotor thing to put on the front to replace this one. With this one, so it's more powerful, but it's not, yes, that's going to be the easy part. The hard part is going to be doing the back, because the hall sensors are soldered, the wires are soldered together. Two of these wires, power phase wires, have XD150 bullet connectors, so they just pop out, but the other one did have, but it broke. So I've attached it with like ring connectors and a bolt. But the hall sensor connector that the guy recommended, it was a pain in the ass, and I just couldn't get it to. I got it finished, but the connection was unreliable, and I just ended up having to cut it off and solder the wires because it wasn't working basically. So anytime I want to take this off, I've got to potentially undo all that, but to do this, I probably will have to take the whole thing off, and lay the wheel flat on the ground. Last time we had to get a bunch of weights and stack them up so that the wheel would lay flat on the weights with the axle, because the axle was putting the wheel at an angle. We couldn't put any pressure on the tire, because the way we did it was we with the front one, we just took it in the garden, laid it flat on the ground. We got the tire around it as best as we could, like you would do with a normal tire, and then we just sort of stamped on it. Both of us just sort of held the back of it with one foot and stamped on it with the other foot to try and stretch the rubber over the wheel, right? And that's how we did it. But I think I paid my brother money to help me to do that. So I don't have the technique to do it, and I don't have the physical strength or stamina to do it. So I can do it with mountain bike tires. I can do it with smaller tires because I've learned the technique, but I just don't know what I'm doing with these tires. So my dad's got this bike that he never uses, and it's a cheap one, but it's pretty good, I'd say. It's got front forks. It's got pretty powerful brakes on it. They are old-fashioned style brakes, but they're very powerful. It's a hardtail. It's a hardtail bike that's made of some sort of aluminium. Camera doesn't want to focus on that. It's a Saracen Urban X1. It's an older model though. I've looked them up, and they cost about 500 new. But the newer models come with hydraulic brakes. That's quite good actually. Now this is a pain in the ass to downshift, but to upshift it's quite fast, which is what you want on a mid-drive bike. I mean, that pedal's a bit ugly, but you can change that. The quality of the bearings and the drivetrain and stuff's probably going to be quite shitty, but I don't know. He never uses it, so it's potentially a free bike, which is good. I would just need to get another BBS HD motor. Trouble is, they're very expensive. But at the moment, I don't have the energy. I was thinking about doing it, but I don't have enough money to buy in the bank to buy another BBS HD at the moment. And then the way when I went to court, things didn't turn out how I expected. Because I thought it was just going to be a simple procedure of changing the community service order into a fine, but that didn't happen, and they've told me that I have to do the community service. It's been 18 months and they haven't managed to find me a suitable job, and a lot of it is because of the red tape, the health and safety regulations, the coronavirus and everything. They used to run community service in my town because I've seen them, and I sort of eventually found out why they don't do it anymore, and it's because they're not allowed into the toilets, because the public toilets, because of the coronavirus thing, right? So that's the reason, that's the only reason why they don't do it in my town anymore. So, but if they did do it in town, I could go down there on my mobility scooter, you see, and I could do the job on this, which would make it a lot easier for me because I don't have to walk. But so I'm getting tired just from this, but I can't breathe well in this room because I try not to breathe in this room because I'm allergic to it. I think it's this rubbery floor. I'm allergic to what it's made of, and it makes my disease flare up really badly if I spend too much time in there. I'll start getting like red marks on the side of my fingers, like chemical burns, like rough red hard swellings. Just been trying to like strengthen up my left arm, ready for the community service, you know. But yeah, it's bullshit. And they said they won't let me. I said, well, why won't you find something that I can do at home or something? Because I've heard of this before, right? Like when we were in prison, I think they were saying something like, oh yeah, we're going to let the prisoners make masks or something. We're going to send in these things so they can make masks. But they won't let me do something like that because they think I'll poison the masks with anthrax or something. Which is a bit silly, like, I don't know. So it's all this bullshit that I've tried negotiating with them and all this, but it's like, no, there's no human decision or human negotiation in it. Everything has to be a system, everything has to be like a rule that they just blindly follow.